Wọlé kò lè jáde gbogbo nǹkan hàn àtúwárí bí kọjá ẹ wọlé tá a bá ti gbé mọ́tò wọn máa ṣe takiti sí ojú títì ni tá a bá ti ń lọ wọn máa yà ṣe yakata sójú títì ni gómìnà ẹ máa ṣe o a máa dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yìí o ìfẹ́ tẹ́ ẹ sáwọ́ ọlọ́jà ní gbogbo gbàlábà máa ṣàlátìlẹ́yìn fún yín.
The governor said the road will create jobs for both skilled and unskilled workers through direct and indirect employment, adding that it will also improve security along the axis and provide a conducive environment for factories and businesses.
With this flag off, it is expected that motorists on Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway will soon be enjoying smooth ride from Lagos down to Abeokuta. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Itori.
It sounds like good news, especially for those who live in Ogun State but work in Lagos.
This is an excellent news for all of us. That road has been neglected for so many years, and it's one of the busiest in the country. Ota, from Lagos to Ota City has the third largest concentration of industries in Nigeria. So I think this is quite a great news. Why this road was neglected was a reflection of the crisis of Nigerian federalism. There are so many important roads that are left untouched by the federal government. And when state governments beg the federal government, let us do this road, they will say no. At the same time, the federal government will not even touch the roads. Imagine Ikorodu Road here. I remember, I think in the year 2001, that the then governor of Lagos State had to, he started renovating the road. This federal government road built in 1975, but left alone. If Lagos State had not renovated that road, it would have still be, to still be there up to today. So I think this is great news. If you look at the fact that that road from just 70 kilometers from Lagos to very important ancient towns, Ota on the one hand, and then Abeokuta. Abeokuta, the history of Abeokuta, Ewekoro and all that. Apart from the, the industrial aspect, there's also the tourism aspect. The building that was used by Bishop Ajayi Crowther when he translated English Bible to Yoruba, Satota. That was the building where he sat and wrote, did that translation. It's there in Ota. And look at even the Canon City, the Winners Chapel, that has about 50,000 capacity building. Imagine 50,000 people going for Chilo every year. You can imagine the congestion on that road. So I think this is a very important road that you will open up. And that road also is an international road. It goes to Benin Republic and Togo. If you are traveling outside to West African country, that's the same road you are going to use. So I think it's a very significant step taken by the government of Ogun State. And I hope that the government will keep to its word that in 18 months, the road will be ready for use.
All right, BKO. So what would the rehabilitation of this road mean to the people and the economy of Ogun State?
It means a lot because it's the alternative route to Abeokuta, for example. I used to enjoy traveling through that road to Abeokuta before the road became so bad that it was pointless using it. Especially the outer end of the road, extremely terrible. And this idea of federal government abandoning its responsibilities, refusing to fix roads, and then harassing states that deem it necessary to fix roads that it had abandoned. It has to stop. I remember Faweshe in those days, we even put a small signage to say, look, it is the federal government that has abandoned their roads, so bear with us, just to let people know that this is not my road. At a point, President Buhari said, he used those words, leave my roads for me. And I came here and said, you cannot call them your roads. They belong to Nigeria, not you. No, they don't belong to you. Why should you call it your roads? Roads that you abandoned. So governors who want to fix federal roads in their states, because their own people use those roads, they should be permitted to fix those roads instead of always. I was driving through Isheyin-Oyo Road along with other people the other day. The governor of Oyo State decided to construct a new road, and he was pointing at the federal road that had been abandoned with a narrow bridge without shoulders. You know, effectively a death trap. But Governor Seyi Makinde constructed a brand new road, taking people all the way from Isheyin to the ancient town of Oyo. And now businesses are springing up. Even Obasanjo farm that was abandoned has now been revived because of that road. There's a lot that good infrastructure can deliver. I'm telling you now that businesses will begin to boom in that area once they even see that construction has begun. And I'm happy that they've also broken up the construction into like 5 parts where work will be done simultaneously. If you go to this what's it called, Coastal Road, the extent of work will shock you. Yes, when it comes to implementing an idea about infrastructure development, the Minister of Works is a beast. When it comes to implementing, you may not like him as a person, but when it comes to implementing, the Minister of Works, there are very few people like him. Go and check. If they post you pictures of the road, of the Coastal Road, you won't believe. You wonder, when did they start this road? Even with markings on them, they are doing it as if they want to finish it tomorrow. So it's a good thing that the governor of Ogun State, he did not want to behave like governors before him who left that road unattended. He has chosen to do the road, and we can only wish that, in line with the promise that he made, in 18 months, we will see a beautiful road, just like the road to Ekpe that he constructed, a beautiful road that will stand the test of time on this ugly-looking Abeokuta Ota road. So that we can, those of us who have stopped using that road, we can go back and begin to use it again. I hear officials of Dr. Abiodun's government saying no governor built more roads like him. I don't know whether that's it. We said no governor in Ogun State history constructed more roads than him. I want to investigate whether it's actually true. You know, because if it's true that he built more roads than his predecessors, then he has to take much more credit than people are prepared to give him. You know, that is what they are telling me. And then he came to Akute to tell them that he's going to fix the roads in Akute, the Ajuwon Road, the Ayawele Ajuwon Road. You know, he said he's going to fix those roads and he's going to complete the Denro Road. Denro Road, I can report the approach to the bridge on both sides is what is left. He gave the contractor 2 weeks. The contractor has nearly finished the road. What is left now is the approach to the bridge, linking Ojojo Abiodun to Denro. So we are waiting. We hope that they can deliver the bridge to in good time. And let him also fulfill his promise to construct Ajuwon Road. People are waiting so that you don't spend all your energy on Ota, Lagos Ota Road, and forget that you made a promise to the people of Akute.
Okay, there are those saying this particular road should be towed so government can make more money. Do you think that's necessary?
Yes, there's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing wrong about that. If people don't want to pay toll, then they can use alternative routes. You know? But I'm sure if it is high quality road, people will be happy to pay than to risk damaging their cars in gullies that typify that road at this time.
All right, Adeoye, any final word on this before we move on?
Well, I say congratulations to the government of Ogun State, and we hope that in the next 18 months we'll come back here and look at what progress has been made.
All right. The famous novelist Franz Kafka once said that so long as you have food in your mouth, you have solved all questions for the time being. But not many children in Nigeria have that luxury, with the northern parts of the country more hit by food shortages. And according to reports, about 4.4 million children in the northwest and the northeast are malnourished. In response to this, the Director of Nutrition Departments at the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, Ladidi Bako Ayebusi, has convened a meeting for policy directions to guide integrated result-focused advocacy on nutrition issues in the country. The director added that Nigeria currently faces a severe crisis of malnutrition due to widespread macro and micronutrient deficiency. Thank you.
Yes,
This is a time bomb.
This is a tough time for the poor in our country. Before now, many people were simply eating what they can lay their hands on, not bothered about the nutritional value of what they eat. Now things are made worse by rampant inflation. The depreciation in the value of our currency means that the money is literally worthless, can't buy even half of what it was buying about a year ago. So people are going through a lot. Parents can't feed their children as much as they would want to. If you are cooking stew like 3 times a week, you are probably going to limit it to once a week. That is if you are even comfortable enough to be able to do that. And children need to eat food that are of tremendous nutritional value. Otherwise, it will reflect in them, and it will hamper their immunity, and they will be susceptible to all kinds of diseases, some of which can even take their lives. So malnutrition is rampant now. I remember when I think it was Medicine Sans Frontiers went to the IDP camp in Bama, in Borno State, and discovered that children were being buried every day. Scores of children being buried. Some of them were dying due to acute malnutrition, kwashiorkor, and all that, because of malnutrition, improper dietary habits. So, and it's still what is happening at this time. People have limited access to food, have poor dietary habits, and poor improper feeding habits. It's all down to the fact that the money you have can barely buy the things that you need. So you can't afford to eat what you prefer to eat, and parents will spread that onto their children. It is what they can afford that they will serve those children. So, and children need to eat good food to stand a good chance of growing in the right way and acquiring immunity, against diseases. So I just hope that things will improve, and the government also needs to pay greater attention to the extremely needy in our society, the poorest of the poor. Attention of government must be focused on them so that they can help them. As we speak, even some of the food packs that are meant to alleviate the pains of our people. They are not getting to them. People are rebagging these things and reselling. Some government officials, some governors are actually even rebagging and making it look like what the federal government gave is actually their own idea. So there is a need to take care of the acutely poor, the so-called multidimensionally poor in our country. Take care of them, take care of their children, bring people out of extreme poverty that they found themselves as a result of the economic policies of government that are not favorable to majority of our people. It's not just the manufacturers that are groaning. The ordinary Nigerian is going through a lot. And if people are going through a lot, they don't even know where their next meal will come from. Not to talk of eating 3 square meals or eating balanced diet. Balanced diet is not even anything to talk about now. Just eat what you can find. That is the thing.
All right, Adeoye. To add to the factors BQ has highlighted, other factors, access to water, sanitation, hygiene services, also population displacement. And if you would agree with me, these are human factors. How do you charge government on this?
Well, this has been going on for many years with very little improvement. Though it's a national problem, but it's more pronounced the Northwest and the Northeast. And we can equate this with the level of social strain that we have in the country. If you look at the Northwest and the Northeast, that is where you have preponderance of violence, banditry. So there is a link between malnutrition, poverty, and then, the social crisis that we have in the country. By researches, that are available to us. In Nigeria, there are about between 54 to 56 deaths, in terms of infant mortality per 1,000 births. That means that if you have 1,000 children, you can expect 54 of them to 56 that they may not get to the age of 5 years. And then for children, the kind of nutrition they need is not what adults need. Children need dairy products, they need protein, they need milk, they need vegetables, they need fruits, which are not available, in most parts of the country, especially in the north. That's why when you go to several homes in the north, you see that people in the age of 2-3 years, they are feeding on eba, feeding on solid food, which is not what they need at that age. So I think it's a major problem, and I think that figure is conservative. I actually believe it is far more than that. Because even in the southwest here, you could see that problem in the north is leading to displacement of very young people. You go on our streets, even in the south, in Lagos here, you see people of 5 years old, 6 years old, all from the north, mostly from the north, looking for food, begging. So I think it's a major problem that we need to collectively identify as
Do you think the federal government should bring back the school feeding program? Is there a way it can help reduce these numbers?
Yes. I believe the federal government should bring back the school feeding program. But what are the states also doing? Because this is a local problem. It begins as a local problem. Local government authorities, state authorities, they need to also design their own program whereby they will encourage children to be attracted to going to schools. If you have a state like Yobe, or Zamfara, where the governor gets a lot of security votes, maybe in millions, the greatest security should be investment in the people so that they don't grow up to begin to taunt the society. So I think we should change our priority into investing more in education and agriculture. Unfortunately, the insecurity problem has compounded the problem. People no longer go to farms. People cannot even feed themselves, talk less of feeding little children. And you now find a situation where there are a lot of foster parents. People have children and then they abandon them, to just be used as beggars and all sort of things. So I think it's a problem that will come back to haunt us if we don't address the problem now. It's going to be a national crisis because it's going to be a breeding ground for terrorists to recruit young men who are raw, who are green, who are vulnerable to be recruited to carrying arms and to seek revenge, to fight, as soldiers for terrorist organizations. So it's a national trend that we must.
Arewa just said this is not a federal government's problem. It's a state problem. So what more state governors do at this time to rescue the situation? Because this analysis covered a total of 133 local government areas in Nigeria, 62 in Northeast, 71 in Northwest.
There's a lot that the state can do. Yobe State, for example, is one of the poorest states in Nigeria. But when I went to Yobe, I discovered that not only does the state have the largest mother and child care hospital in Nigeria, healthcare services are free up till a child is like 5-6 years. Then renal services, that is treatment of people suffering from kidney failure, is free. Whereas in Lagos and other places, it's extremely expensive. You do it every week and you pay a lot of money. But in Yobe State, it's free. I even interviewed the beneficiaries who are praying for the governor, for the fact that they've been taking care of them without them having to pay a dime. Many of our people are so poor that they cannot pay for medical services, can't pay at all. And a lot of them resort to self-help and they die in the process. Hospitals need to be located in the local areas. You need to build, state governments need to build more primary health centers so that they can take healthcare delivery as close as possible to our people. Then farmers need to be supported because the largest chunk of our people, of our population, are farmers. Agriculture still provides the highest number of employment for our people. They need to be supported with input, fertilizers, and they need to be helped to tractorize their feeds. If you help them to tractorize their feeds, you've taken away something that cost them a lot of money because ordinarily they will need to hire people to help them cultivate. But if you help tractorize those feeds, you've taken one big burden off. And then you are giving them high-yield seedlings, you are giving them fertilizers. This will spur them to achieve greater agri-production, so that a lot of our people, they really don't want to take handouts from government. They just want to be supported in a way and then for government to provide security for them to access their farms. Many of the people in IDP camps in Borno State, it's not their wish. If they have their way, they will go to the farms. Because in the IDP camp, you are not sure of when your next meal will come and the quantity. I was in an IDP camp in Katsina State. Honestly, if you see the food that they are going to serve them, rice, wanted to serve them rice. You see the rice. They told me they have put groundnut oil, but it didn't look like there was groundnut oil at all. And it had no taste because I asked to be allowed to taste it. It had no taste. But these people, because of insecurity, they are forced to stay there, and then you have to feed them. Go to the IDP camps. Some of the women there are sneaking out to get involved in prostitution so that they can properly feed their children. And so people are going through a lot. Our people are very poor and vulnerable. They need support. And they shouldn't wait. Look at, when I returned from Yobe, the videos of rice being distributed to people that I showed. They didn't wait for federal government. It was before federal government made moves that they started, giving out food to their people. But I know some governors till today who have not shared food to people. They are just all over the place, moving around, dancing around, as if it is dancing that is the priority now. I mean, we just have to pay greater attention to our people.
All right, gentlemen, there you have it. Now let's move on quickly. The great American statesman Benjamin Franklin once said that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. But the situation in the country indicates that university students are no longer passionate about the prospect of a degree. Economic hardship is biting hard and affecting their concentration as they take up many jobs in order to survive and contribute to the finances their parents can afford. Apart from transportation fares, which have doubled, university students complain of an increase in charges across campuses, and they now have to acquire skills and do many jobs to survive. The result is that their academic activities will suffer the consequences. Adeoye.
Well, I think viewed from a general perspective, there is nothing wrong for students, university students, to augment their living if there's one or two things they can do. In fact, if you, many people go to US, Britain to attend universities. They also work in order to be able to meet up their, their needs. But in our case, I think is slightly different because you have a situation where most of these students, in fact, if you talk to some of them, they are even responsible for feeding their parents. Apart from paying school fees. So you have somebody at the age of 19, is already have responsibilities of some 5-6 people, just a student. Or like in UK, where, okay, if you are working, you are working for to augment your, other needs and all. So I think the situation is terrible. A lot of parents cannot afford to pay school fees of their children, even in public universities, where the cost is a bit relatively affordable, So it is forcing a lot of our students to go outside the box, in order to survive. And it's not just going and doing manual jobs, they also find themselves going to social, commercial sex work, turning themselves to commercial sex workers in order to be able to live. So I think that is where the problem becomes a little bit different from what the standard you have in other parts of the country. Because university education is not a place where you should go and now devote all your time to working as an engineer, because it's going to really divert your attention from your focal point, which is education. So I think it's a reflection of the downturn in the economy, which has forced so many students, to resort into so many means to survive. And sometimes it also affects their commitment to the educational curriculum. So I think it's something that we need to look for how we are going to address this problem, especially in public schools. Because though we have so many universities in Nigeria, I think we have about 272 now. But in terms of the number of admissions that we have every day, every year, a lot of Nigerians cannot access, the university system. And I think it has to do with the fact that we have so many universities, but in terms of quality university, quality standard universities, they are not there. Look at South Africa, for instance. The biggest university in that country, University of South Africa, has 400,000 students with about 30 campuses, So, but we have so many private universities that when you go there, they are just glorified, secondary school, and they are very expensive. That most people cannot afford them. Private universities where we are paying about 2 million, 3 million. How many people can afford that? So public universities that are even affordable, the competition is too much. To the extent that if you don't know people, you may not be able to get the particular course that you really bid for. So I think it's a crisis of the Nigerian economic, it's a reflection of the economic crisis. And I hope we can find a way out, maybe in terms of this loan that has just been introduced by the federal government, so that the people that actually deserve this loan will be the end users, the beneficiary of the system.
Thank you. What's your perspective?
Yes, I think that just as Wale said, in those days, some of us combined academic work with a bit of business so that we can make a little more money. It was fun, really. I was a photographer. If we are going to do maybe English Students Week, or something. They will call me, I will go and snap pictures, and I will print those pictures and give them. And I was making money on the sidelines. I could make, for example, 2 times my weekly allowance in 1 week. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. For some students, even back then, they had to combine academic work with driving taxis just so that they can make ends meet. Governor Zulum, for example, to pay his way through the University of Ibadan, where he graduated as an engineer, he had to drive Kabu. From the money he made, he was able to pay his school fees. Sometimes your parents pay school fees, but you also need to buy things. You need to buy books. You are an accounting student, for example, you need to buy books and all that. And you don't want to keep going back to them to ask for money for this and for that. So you tried your best to also augment the money made available to you. But it is much more difficult now. Some of the things I see now, barefaced prostitution that people call runs. It was there during our time, but not this rampant. In fact, they are about to literally legalize it now. Because when you say somebody is involved in runs, it doesn't attract the kind of anger that in the past it will have attracted. It's like they now see it's not a big deal, So that is one. But this particular story is talking about students who have resorted to making soaps, making liquid soap, liquid detergent, make air for their colleagues in school, just to make ends meet. Some of them working part-time as in a cyber cafe and doing other things like side hustle, what we also call side hustle. I know a student, for example, who was also doing POS business. He was doing POS, so these days parents will send money, and the students, in trying to withdraw what has been sent to them, trying to access the cash, they have to use POS. That's why POS business is thriving on campuses. If you go to Unilag, you go even to LASU. When I went to LASU, there's a whole place where they sit, and people go to them. So there are students who are doing that. There is a girl who used to be in my choir who is into confectionery making. That is sweets, cakes, and all that. That's what she does. She has even registered a business as a student. So if a student has a bad day, she will bake cake for them. She's already making money, making little money. Yes, so that at the end of the day, you just use whatever you make to augment what your parents are able to give you. These days, parents struggle. Some of the girls who have resorted to runs or prostitution, if we are to call it by its real name, it was because they were tired of going to their parents, and their parents would tell them stories. So some of them just decided that, well, let me try and solve my problem by myself. Some students actually sponsor themselves through school because the cost of maintaining a student, paying school fees, especially in a public university, is not the big deal. The big deal is feeding that student. Feeding that student. The average student, even a young one, if he's to eat good food, there's no way you won't spend 30,000 naira per week. That idea now. So I don't need to appeal to them. They are happy to get Gary when they are going to school. and I'll put granulated sugar. When we were growing up, granulated sugar was not common. It was the cubes. Granulated sugar, I think I saw granulated sugar for the first time around 1980. Yes, around late 79, 1980. It was St. Louis in cubes that we were getting. But today you could actually mix that Ijebu gari, mix it with granulated sugar, and it's ready to serve for the children. So before you go to eat, the strategy is first load your belly a little bit with the gari and granuts. Then go and eat a little. That will bring it air for you. So it's a strategy. So that they give you 30,000, maybe that should be enough for you for the week. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And if these children will not take to cultism, will not take to drugs, will not take to armed robbery, whatever they are doing as a side hustle is allowed. It's legitimate.
But Adeoye, are there consequences, on the kinds of graduates we churn out going forward?
Well, the consequences in terms of the quality of graduates we produce in our universities is a product of so many factors. So the idea of students not, putting enough time to learning is just an aspect of it. But I think broadly, there are so many factors that are responsible for the quality of corruption is there, leadership is there, funding of universities is there. For instance, University of Ibadan, I think up to the 80s, hardly can you do a report in any university all over the world without making reference to journals produced at the University of Ibadan. Well, at that time, there was University of Ibadan Press, the quality of academic performance, UNNABU. You can't compare that with what we have today. I think we stopped producing a good, maybe since 1976, when the second set, University of Ilorin, Ibadan. Go and look at those universities, compare with what we are building now. You can't compare them. The first generation, the second generation. When you enter University of Benin, University of Ilorin, you think they are in a huge city. The founding fathers made provision for almost everything, unlike the kind of mushroom universities we are building these days. Infrastructure, facilities, roads. Go to some universities, you see Okada. You see students living, you go to their toilets. How will people be able to learn in this environment? So it's a whole lot of factors. That's why when you graduate from Nigeria, if you go abroad, they still ask you to come and take some exams because they doubt your credentials, which was not like that in the past years.
All of these are big distractions.
Yeah.
For students, normally should be able to focus on academic work, but the desire to survive in a very difficult economic environment has prompted students to focus more on other things rather than the academic work. And it's a big distraction, and I can tell you, students who ordinarily should have scored a 2-1 or first class, when they are distracted in this way and they are bothered about how to survive and stay afloat, honestly, they won't be able to make the grade.
I agree with you, Vicky. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the final topic for today. The judgment of the Supreme Court on local government autonomy is still generating controversies and bad blood in some states. The possibility of non-compliance with the judgment by some states has attracted the attention of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. The chairman of the commission, Musa Aliyu, SAN, has warned that ICPC will take action against any official or individual who defies the Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy. In a statement, Aliyu stressed that any state official who violates the decision by the Apex Court will be held accountable for gross misconduct and abuse of office. BQ, it's not business as usual.
No, I'm sure they know. They realized that the president realized that these governors are stubborn and rigid and incorrigible enough to try to undermine the decision of the Apex Court of our land. You can see that a governor, one of the governors of a southwest state, was thrashing around over this matter, you would think it was more than a pronouncement by the Supreme Court. The way he was thrashing around, he was behaving as if the matter concerned only him. But you are just one out of 36 governors. So you don't have to lose your head because of a judgment. The judgment that binds and affects everyone, not you alone. But you are the one who was hitting his head against the wall over a mere judgment. I'm like, you know? So it's like they've had unfettered access to local government funds over the years. And change is something that Nigerians are usually reluctant to embrace. That change has come. They are not happy about it. I can tell you many of the governors are not happy with Mr. President. But this president removed subsidy.
He said it was a blessing in disguise.
No, it's a lie. After that, go and see what some of them have been saying. We've seen what some of them have been saying. They are not happy at all. You know? This president removed subsidy is the one being fired at for removing subsidy. But governors have been taking much more than they used to earn. I heard when the governor of Plateau State said, but inflation has eroded the money that they are being paid now. So that because of inflation, it's no longer up to what they used to. Then return the excess now. Return the excess, let us see. The truth is some of the governors are able to do more infrastructure now because they have more funds at their disposal than before. Look at the governor of Ekiti. He even increased the subvention to departments and agencies of government, even to the state university, increase their subvention because he has more money now. But one is saying, oh, it's a big inflation has eroded the whole money. There's no way inflation can erode. You people, there was a time when they were taking just about 400 billion. I know months when they took about 300 billion. Federation account that they shared, the 3 tiers of government. Now they are sharing in excess of 1 trillion, 1.3 trillion and all that. And you are saying inflation has eroded. You now earn a lot more. And should be able to do a lot. But their eyes are still on the local government funds. And you see, the whole idea of Supreme Court coming to give this judgment and saying this is the way things should be done henceforth, it will be defeated. If we simply fold our arms and allow governors to do what they like. Because they are still going to get this local government chairman, especially if they are installed by them. They are still going to get them to do their bidding, to work with them so that the states can still have access to some of the funds of this local government. And that is what we don't want to see. Let the local councils be able to use their funds.
The just bought cars for the states, for the local government chairman recently.
Is it chairman or traditional rulers?
It was local government chairman. I can't remember the governor now.
Well, I don't know who that is. Maybe he's trying to compromise them. But they should leave the councils to use their funds for their people. Look at in Lagos State here. A local government chairman constructed a housing estate working with the private sector. It's here in Kosofe here. How many such local governments in Nigeria are able to do such projects? That a council will come up with a housing project where people can buy homes and all that. They are not doing all that. All they do is they simply come and share money at the end of the month. And governors will sometimes determine what a local government chairman gets. It's not your money, for God's sake, but you are the one determining in the name of a joint account. You are the one determining what should go to a local government chairman. It's injustice. It's a real travesty. And the Supreme Court said in that judgment read by Justice Agim that this joint account had been abused over the years. That he has rendered the joint account invalid. Yes, this constitution prescribes that there shall be a joint account, but by the force and the weight of the Supreme Court pronouncement, that portion of the constitution is no longer valid. Because the Supreme Court, as I always say, is a court not just of record but of policy, which means that it can make a statement and then it becomes law. So that is what we have now. That joint account no longer exists. They will pay them directly from the federation account. I understand that they've even demanded for the accounts of the states, the local government, so that they can be credited through TSA or whatever means they want to credit them. But unfortunately now, a lot of those, the judgment of the Supreme Court is not enforced in so many states because the councils have been dissolved and they are awaiting election into those local councils. Kogi, they are awaiting election. Rivers, they told the Rivers man to do election a long time. He didn't want to do election because he thought weakest people will win. But now he's the one asking for election. You know? So because you cannot do, if today the Supreme Court has outlawed dissolving local councils, you don't have the power to dissolve a local council anymore. And you can't suspend a local government chairman because he was elected just like you. The Supreme Court has outlawed suspending local government chairman. So, but we need vigilance. We talked about this in the course of the week, that all of these CSOs, the NGOs, what are they doing? They should put their eyes on the finances of the local governments. And I believe that's part of what the ICPC will do, because even if money comes to them and we turn away, those local government chairmen will start behaving like the governors too. They will be diverting the funds, doing what they like. We don't want that to happen.
But Bikio, now that your state's local government chairman have pulled out of ALCON, are there no consequences for that?
They cannot go against the Constitution. They cannot go against the Supreme Court judge. Otherwise, they will go to jail. They can't go against the... And the Supreme Court also permitted government to not release money to local councils where elections were not conducted. You know, in the past, they used to just appoint caretaker. They said, no, wherever there is caretaker, they must not access the funds. You know, don't forget there was also a committee set up by President Tinubu to monitor. So they can really keep their eyes on these governors and the local government chairmen to ensure that, yes, what the Supreme Court wants done, it is what gets done. Without a high level of vigilance, this judgment will be circumvented, and the governors will continue to do what they like. With their, one governor was telling me that if a local government chairman receive alert, they will tell him. One governor told me in Abuja, and I'm like, these people, what do we do about these people? He said, if a local government chairman, he said, can a local government chairman win an election without my knowledge? He said, if a local government chairman collects alert, he will tell him that this alert has come from federation account, which means he's not keeping his eyes off that money. So
that's scary anyways. Adoye, let me come to you. ICPC is talking tough, and it looks like the concern of whether or not local government chairmen will become mini gods may not be there.
Well, for the fact that ICPC is talking tough shows that mere ruling of the Supreme Court that local government chairmen, once you go to local government chairman, local government directly, does not automatically translate to eliminating corruption even at the local government level. There are the chances of local government chairmen misusing such funds, even more than when they were under the control of the state, is there. Knowing human beings generally and knowing politicians. And it also shows that we need to do much more to ensure accountability at the local government level, beyond the dictates of the Supreme Court. And for me, it will be very difficult for the ICPC to monitor 774 local governments, because the ICPC can only monitor based on information provided by the people. So it means that in terms of transparency, accountability, it comes back to our people. In the first place, our local people must insist on electing credible people, not to appoint, to elect people that see politics as a career. When you serve as local government chairman for four years, it's from there you want to get your gratuity, your pension. So within those 4 years, you want to accumulate wealth, because you know you may now have the opportunity again. In the past, retired teachers, retired school principals, retired lawyers who had gone back home, who are getting their gratuity, will be elected based on credibility as local government chairman. And then we need people that are creative. It's one thing for you to have 100 million naira in your local government. It's another thing for you to have priorities, to have critical thinking on how to use such funds. That's why you have some countries that are very rich, but does not mean that they are developed. So you need people that have good ideas, people that understand what the priorities of their people. There are so many local governments that they go and build lock-up shops. You will not see anybody there. Because in building the lock-up shops, you did not consult with the people. What are your major needs? Even when you are doing your budget, there is no engagement of local communities. So you go there and just build something, post office, big, fine, but you don't see anybody there. Maybe the first thing that those communities need is borehole. Then there's no consultation. You don't understand their needs. So we need people that are credible. Elections, electing people, parties must be honest. They should allow people to pick the local government chairman, not by imposition by governors. Then the opposition should also show more interest in local government election. What usually happens is that when there's time for local government election, the opposition just assume that, they are going to win. Go there and contest, engage them. And I think when we are talking about civil society, it's also involved the media, our state correspondents in the states. It's not just about sitting down in State House and relying on press statements. Investigate and write, set agenda that Babajida and Co used to do in the news and Tempo. Set agenda for development, economic transformation of the society. So when you are talking about NGOs, it's not just civil society organization. The media also has an important role to play in terms of ensuring transparency, good governance at the local government level. I'm not a fan of federal government giving direct funds, but the Supreme Court has ruled now, so we have no alternative than to abide by the law of the land. So on that basis, we need to take it off from there.
All right, gentlemen, we have to go home. Thank you so much for your perspectives on the program tonight. Great conversation today. Babajide Kolade Otitoju Adewale Adoye. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for watching, everyone. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
TVC News Weekend Lineup. TVC Breakfast Saturday with Kemi Fola Adeyemo and Emmanuel Ajayi. Political Standpoint with Precious Amayo. Newsweek with Mark Otabo. Politics on Sunday with Femi Akonde. Community Forum with Sarah Yeku. Get ready for the biggest stories, fresh perspectives, and burning news discussions that round up the weekend. Only on TVC News.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, The pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and governments to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
I'm Miriam Lunge. I'm a passionate environment advocate and a published author.
I am the founder of Celebration, a businesswoman, and a fashion icon.
I am a wealth coach and a real estate developer.
I am Amako Arakwe. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer and an entrepreneur.
Welcome to our Haka. I am Ramatu Shehu Oyibo, an entrepreneur and a business coach.
I am the voice of an average Muslim woman, an hijabite, and a lawyer.
I am a polymath and a serial entrepreneur.
I am Murayo Afolabi Brown, Managing Director, TVC Entertainment. I'm a media consultant, producer, and broadcaster.
The ladies of Your View are made of women from different professions, tribes, cultures, and religion. Join us every Monday to Friday as we share our views on topical and social issues.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
When Nigeria's unity was at stake after a devastating civil war, the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) was formed in 1973 to foster national cohesion. More than 50 years after, the scheme continues to serve the purpose through mobilization of Nigerian graduates below the age of 30 for the one-year compulsory national service. Watch NYSC Half Hour, a weekly